My name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, education, technology, and the arts. During the program today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Tara Dower. Tara is a highly accomplished professional ultramarathon trail athlete who recently became the fastest person in history to complete the Appalachian Trail, a 2,189-mile path that goes from Mount Katahdin, Maine, to Springer Mountain in northern Georgia. During the program, we're learning why and how this incredible undertaking came about and what transpired during Tara's groundbreaking 40-day, 18-hour, and 6-minute quest. Let's start by meeting Tara and then hearing all about her record-breaking expedition. Welcome, Tara. So delighted you're able to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. That was quite the introduction. Gassing me up.
Well, you deserve much, much more. And let me just start by joining so many others before me saying congratulations on this incredible achievement. Looking forward to hearing all about it shortly and having you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest if you'd just spend whatever time you'd like sharing a little bit more about your background and how you got into ultra marathoning and trail hiking.
Yeah, it's I've been talking about this a lot with people since I finished, and it's almost been like free therapy because I've kind of like been able to uh really dissect like how, how I started and I can explain that, but how I started to like where I am now. And it's kind of funny now I'm at the point where I'm like, oh, like I feel like I fully like understand like how I got here. And it's kind of like somebody had the metaphor of like a ladder. Like it's just been like steps on a ladder. And it's like I haven't really known where the ladder's going to take me. And maybe the ladder keeps going, but I haven't really known where the ladder's been taking me, but it's gotten me to this place and I'm really thankful for that. It could have gone a lot of different ways and I'm happy that it's got me to this point, but as far as like my history in the sport and hiking and ultra marathons and just like being in the outdoor space and on trails, I mean, started with my parents. They were outdoorsy people. Camping and hiking was a big part of our lives. Car camping, but also we did a little bit of like tent camping and then also did a lot of hiking where we lived. And then, I ran track and cross country in high school and did all right in that. And um, then had a goal of through hiking the Appalachian Trail in 2013. I believe I saw this documentary in my dorm room and was like, that's what I want to do after college. Like, I
Hmm.
want to take some time to like, hike this trail. And, I don't want to rush into a career just yet. Just take 6 months and um, do that. And,
Mhm.
it didn't quite go the way I wanted to the first time. But once I got back out there in 2019, it was a life-changing event and I through hiked it in 5 months and 10 days, the Appalachian Trail. And um, ever since then, it's just been like this really fast track into ultra marathons and FKTs. For those that don't know, FKTs stand for fastest known time. So it's
Mhm.
essentially like a speed record on a segment of trail or on a road. Um, but yeah, ever since 2019, it's just been like I said, it's just been a fast track to, the next challenge that I have. Um I'm very focused on challenges and what's the next thing I can be doing. I have to have something on the horizon to kind of look forward to. Which is kind of funny because at this point in my life, I don't have anything on the horizon. I'm just recovering.
Well deserved for sure, for sure. You know, given the world-class status as an athlete, I mean, you're always in incredible shape, but was there anything special physically or mentally you had to do to prepare for the Appalachian Trail?
Well, I think mental preparation was probably the biggest thing I could do. Like you mentioned, like as a ultramarathon athlete, I'm kind of always in shape. I'm always in shape to kind of take on the next thing. I was preparing for another race, the Hard Rock 100 miler in Silverton, Colorado, and it's one of the hardest ultramarathons, hardest 100 milers in the country. So I felt like the training I was doing for that would easily translate to the Appalachian Trail, which I
Mhm.
was doing 3 to 4 weeks later. So like I felt like physical preparation was fine, but mental preparation is super important for these things because, with it being so long, 2,200, nearly 2,200 miles and 40 days of constant movement, I mean, it can really get in people's heads. So I think mental preparation, staying in the moment and being present is incredibly important. And it took me a long time to mentally prepare for this. Like I said, like the ladder, it wasn't always a straight shot to success, if you will. It took a lot of stumbling and a lot of failures, mainly due to mentality. So I've been able to work on that and, through failures, understand myself a little more. So it has for me, it has definitely taken a couple years to get to this point to where I felt comfortable going for this record.
No, I think your grit, your perseverance are traits we can all take from. And I know that's one of the reasons you do some of these incredible undertakings is to be a role model. And I know one cause very near and dear to you, Girls on the Run. We are going to get to the quest, but I'd like to hear about your association with that organization because I know it's important.
Yeah, so Girls on the Run, I knew that I wanted when I went into this, I have benefited greatly from women role models and athletes who are women. I have been encouraged and inspired by them. I've been inspired by men too, but there's something about seeing somebody who looks like you um, doing these incredible things. And so I knew I benefited greatly from these women role models. So I really wanted to kind of feed into that and be able to give back to that community. Um, and so a big goal of mine was to encourage and inspire women to go for these like these overall records, but broadly just go for a really tough goal because not everyone can
Yeah.
go for an FKT or a record, but they can just go for that tough goal that, for them seems like unreachable. And my big motivation for doing this was to inspire women to do that. And so I also like to raise money during these kinds of things. I think it's a great opportunity because there's a lot of eyes on records, FKTs, and kind of a natural one that stood out to me was Girls on the Run. And they are a great organization, a nonprofit that teaches young girls how to run, like running and like inspires them, encourages them to like go for this 5K at the end of this program. But it also, they have like programs inside this running curriculum. They talk about mental, emotional
Mm.
skills that young girls need as we're growing older. As a former young girl, I find a lot of benefit in that. And so it was just natural for me to partner with them and raise that money for them. And luckily, we had a lot of people who agreed and donated.
Yeah, very generously for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're fortunate to have some images because I think it's time for us to hit the trail. Here we see you at the beginning, Mount Katahdin. What were you thinking? What was your mental, physical state at this point before you set out for the 40-day undertaking?
Yeah. I was really just trying to keep it low key and easy. Like me and my crew chief Rascal, I think we'll talk about in a little bit. She and I hiked the 4 miles up to this point. So before we even started the trail, we had to hike 4 miles up. And we were just keeping the effort really low and just chatting. And the time starts when you want it to, so I could choose when
Mm.
I wanted to start. So at this point I hadn't even started yet. I just, started. I choose when I'm on the trail. And so we were just taking photos, enjoying the views. Like I hadn't been to Mount Katahdin since I finished my through hike in 2019. And it was a great experience because in 2019 there was like lines and crowds of people up here. It was a beautiful day. But when me and Rascal got up here around like 5:45 a.m., I think it was, there was no one up there, and we just kind of took our time and like enjoyed, even though it was very cloudy, as you can see, we just enjoyed ourselves up there. And at this point, I mean, it's just like any other point in the FKT. It's just like just getting through it and just it's just another part of the journey.
Terrific, terrific. Well, you mentioned Rascal, the crew chief, otherwise known as Megan Wilmarth.
Uh-huh.
Could you speak to the importance and the role that the crew played throughout with the logistics, the planning, the emotional support?
Mm.
I know you speak highly of them. What are some of your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I have so many thoughts. But to keep this brief, I just think like this was definitely like a team effort. Um, a lot of people have mentioned, trying to be kind of like negative on comment sections when they hear about how I set the FKT, how I had pacers, how I had a crew. They said, well, it sounds like this was like a team FKT. It doesn't sound like she did it just by herself. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. It's without them, it wouldn't have been possible. And so like these people, like Rascal is my crew chief. So she was there the entire time. My mom, Debbie, was there the entire time as well. And I had several people like right here in this photo is Arlie, and Arlie's a really good friend from Vermont. And so people would just come out and pace me for anywhere from like 6 to like 15-mile sections on the trail. They would carry food and water and just emotionally support me, like you mentioned. And then like I met my crew about 6 times a day at different road crossings, and they would restock me with food and water and encourage me and, take care of my feet, as you can see in this photo. So the to the left is my mom kind of preparing my vest for the next section.
Uh-huh.
Christine and Reese are two friends. So Christine has been on many FKTs with me, and she has, taken care of my feet. Thank goodness for her. Reese has just been, she's, using a tool on my leg right now, but she paces and crews, and then Reese, or sorry, Rascal is up there in the standing up to the right, and she's feeding me. Like people physically fed me, so I didn't have to do that. And then over to the far right is Keegan, and they were just a really great pacer doing huge sections with me through Pennsylvania, but also Maine and New Hampshire, which is really difficult. So I'm really thankful for these people. And the way we look at this, I don't consider this just my FKT. The way I look at it is I am the race car. I'm the
Yeah.
F1 vehicle, the NASCAR race car, and I'm physically that race car. And these people are the pit crew, and then the pacer's the driver. So you have like I am just this physical embodiment of the FKT, and all these people are, fueling and supporting and changing my tires and, you know, feeding me and getting me on the trail, and guiding me down the trail. And without them, it would have been possible. And I think some people can view that in a certain way, but I think it's a great example of teamwork. And that is the way I want to look at this FKT, is like a team effort. It was just perfect. They were perfect.
No, and those thoughts and sentiments that you just shared are another wonderful example of the role modeling you're doing for all of us, the importance of the collaboration
Mhm.
and whatever quest we might be following. Can you share a little bit what the daily routine? I know it wasn't anywhere near the same necessarily every day, but a typical daily routine on the trail was miles covered, rest and recovery, how you and your crew tried to navigate those logistics.
Yeah, so daily routine. It looked like waking up at 3 a.m. every day, And every day, there's only two times during the 40 days that we slept until 3:30 a.m. because I had gotten in a little later and we just wanted 30 minutes extra. But yeah, so 3 a.m. was the typical wake up. 3:30 was when I got on the trail, but the 30 minutes in between there, Rascal would feed me breakfast and I would be preparing my feet by putting, Luco tape on blisters and sores and getting the socks and the shoes on, which took a long time because in these FKTs, your feet are very tender. And it's just, it's pretty much the thing that is the most painful for me. That's how I feel. It could be different for other people, but the feet, you're on your feet for 17 and a half hours a day. So it's quite aggressive. And so by 3:30 a.m., I would be on the trail and I'd do about 17 and a half, on average, 17 and a half hours of running and hiking. So I typically ran on the downhills and the flats, and I hiked the uphills. Um, and then I met my crew about six times a day at different road crossings and would pick up a new pacer or be by myself, like on this section that you have in this photo. I'm by myself. And usually by myself, I would get into accidents.
Mhm.
This injury right here was on the second day, and I was walking down this like cliff face, which was didn't look that technical, but I just fell right back on my back and just scraped my arm all the way down this rock, and it was just bleeding profusely. This is the next day after it. It just looks so gross. But yeah, so I'd meet my crew about seven times a day, and I was usually done with my about, on average, I think it came out to 54 miles a day. I usually was done with that by 8:30, anywhere from 8:30 to 10:30. 10:30 is pretty late. And then it was about an hour from when I stopped for the day to when I got in bed, but my crew would feed me. They would take care of my feet so my pacer JP, who came in New York and stayed until the very end, he would take off the socks, massage the feet, wash the feet, and we'd soak it in Epsom salt. And then I would be physically fed by my mom or by Rascal. And then, the crew would be getting the pack ready for the next day or charging my watch or charging, my phone. And then I would crawl in bed and it was on average, about 5 hours a night that I got of sleep. And that was perfect amount of sleep. Anything less than that, I would be a wreck the next day.
Yeah, yeah. Were there any unexpected situations, dangerous situations you didn't anticipate on the trail?
Ooh,
Wildlife, extreme weather?
nothing that I wasn't already expecting. Like in the whites in New Hampshire and Maine, the terrain is really technical and weather can change pretty quickly, but luckily I could trust my pacers and they were kind of guiding me through these mountains really expertly, and I had some great locals around at that time. As far as wildlife goes, like I can predict, animals are predictable, their behaviors are predictable. So I was able to, with bears, there's a lot of bears on the AT. I was, a lot of the times at night, I was singing to myself or making a lot of noise just to like warn the bears that I was coming. I'm here. Usually when they are startled, that is, when you're quiet and you walk right up to them, that's when they, jump and get scared and can be aggressive. So, I was able to predict behaviors of the animals and kind of, curate my actions to that. There was something that is not predictable is, humans. And so I had one moment with one of my pacers. It was in Virginia, nope, North Carolina, and we ran up on a local man who just said something very weird and concerning and really threw me off of my
Mm.
groove. I feel very comfortable. It took a long time to get here, but I feel very comfortable in the woods by myself or with one person. And, I don't really fear a lot of things. I oftentimes feel more comfortable in the woods, but at that moment, I felt very uncomfortable by what he had said. And I think that was the only time where I was like, really concerned for my safety. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was just like a really odd comment that you probably wouldn't say to two women in the woods.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Was there a specific moment on the trail that stands out, particularly moving or profound for you, um, as you made your way through the 40 days?
Yeah. Oh man, like Virginia was just a beautiful, beautiful section of trail. It's always been my favorite. Beautiful sweeping fields and just like really why I'm out there on the AT. It's like these trails are in Virginia is, why I do it. And I just remember at night, these sunsets, as soon as we entered in Virginia, it was just these sunsets were just so gorgeous. Every single night, we got a beautiful sunset.
Mm.
And usually at this time when sun was setting, I was at the top of a mountain and it just worked that way to where I could see this expansive view of like this orange and red sky that was just in pink, just changing colors in such a beautiful way. And I was with my pacers, like my friend Pete, and at times I was with my friend JP and Rascal, and I just like felt very thankful to be with the people that mattered the most in that moment, who were supporting me, and I just felt a lot of gratitude in those moments to be experiencing the trail in that way, and also with really good people.
Do you use any technology to help throughout to monitor your performance throughout the 40 days in this case?
Um, I had my watch, which just tracked me, and I also had a physical GPS tracker on me.
Mm.
So I don't think that really monitored my performance at all. And I kind of wish I had partnered with some sort of like research group that could have studied like different things. Like I don't think I would have done blood, but just like heart rate, just having a heart rate
Yeah.
monitor at different sections and like seeing how that changes. But no, I just had the typical stuff that helped track me and my performance, which was the watch and the tracker.
Mhm. How about the nutrition plan? What goes into that thinking? How many calories, what type of calories were you considering that you thought were important to be consuming day after day to keep up the strength and endurance?
Yeah, I only have what the information I, curated before the Appalachian Trail. So I gave my crew some guidelines. And then after that, I gave up all decision making to them. At that point, once I was on trail, I had no decision making process. I had no autonomy. Like I said, I was a race car and they were the ones that were fueling me.
Mm.
And, I really wish Rask was here to kind of talk about it a little more, but what the guidelines I gave them before I got on trail was 300 calories, or sorry, 500 calories in the morning for breakfast, 300 calories an hour on the trail, 1,500 calories for dinner, and then protein shakes at every single stop. So that was about 7 protein shakes a day.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was a lot of food. But once we started, after the whites, we gained a crucial crew member. Her name was Amy and her husband Steve, and she took on the nutrition completely. And she kept track of the calories, the macros, protein, the fats I was consuming. She kept track of all of this, and I felt completely fueled. I don't know what she did, what kind of foods, and it was mostly like whole foods. Like she made these wraps that were like eggs and hash browns in there, and then like there was like times that she would, as a snack, she'd give me like cottage cheese, and it was all these really good whole foods. It was nothing like obscure, like I don't even know what's in
Yeah.
this. Like I could
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
a,
Yeah.
a wrap and be like, I know all of these things. So I felt very fueled. I never had a moment on trail where I was like craving anything because I just felt like I was eating so well out there thanks to Amy.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. We have just a couple more images like to share. This one, as you're making your way, still have quite a bit to go. It seems
Yeah.
like it's about halfway or so, 1,000 miles to go to Springer Mountain.
Yeah, that was that was with my pacer Pete. That was at night, and I guess that was near Virginia. That was around Virginia, when or West Virginia, Virginia, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
We were so close to the end of the day, and I was just stoked to see that sign because at that point I would have about 1,200 miles behind me, and I had done more miles than I had to do. And the even though I was in Virginia, like the end was in sight, and I was getting pretty excited.
Nice. Well, share a little bit about your emotions when you did make it here and were able to have the energy to get down to see the plaque at Springer Mountain.
Yeah, man, it was the end was like I mentioned, it's just like another part of the entire journey. It was just like kind of like the natural ending to this FKT, and there were so many people that were there. There was like my entire crew was there, but also like a couple other people who had like been watching the FKT, and it wasn't like an overwhelming amount of people. It was like the perfect group. And at this point, we had just, before this photo, the crew and we had just gone around in a circle and shared our favorite moments from the
Yeah.
FKT. And it was just like, it was so heartwarming, and it was just a really good moment. So it was just something I've been saying is like, job well done. Like we all did it. It was a job well done. We got A plus plus on the FKT, um, you know, report card. We had Warren Doyle, who came out, and he is prolific in the Appalachian Trail community, and he gave us a couple like standards. He was like, you could either get an A or an A plus, and he gave us like when I would finish, and this is an A plus, and we finished before the A plus. So we like to say we got an A plus plus in the Warren Doyle report card. So I think I was just really, really happy to be there, had finished, had gone through this incredible experience with some great people.
Most definitely. I mean, it's so inspiring. And once again, on behalf of viewers and others, just want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this and wish you well on speedy recovery. I know you're gaining your strength, you're rehabilitating very fast and eager to find out your next uh, the goal that you want to try to achieve and follow you in that.
Yeah.
Thank you again for taking the time and just congratulations on this unbelievable life-changing experience for you and inspiring for us. So
Yeah.
all
Thank
the
you, Jay,
best,
so much.
Tara.
I appreciate it.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.